I was born into a kind of wealth that never introduced itself. It didn't sparkle, it didn't shout. It simply existed, quiet, permanent, unquestionable. My earliest memories were of adults speaking softly around me, as if money itself might wake up if disturbed. I learned to read balance sheets before novels, contracts before poetry. By the time I turned 18, my future was already mapped in signatures and sealed envelopes. But there was one thing money had never given me, the chance to be ordinary. That was why, at 24, I walked into Calder and Rowe Financial wearing a second-hand blazer, carrying a resume stripped of family names, and smiling nervously like the job mattered more than my bloodline. I introduced myself as Alex Rivera, entry-level accounting assistant. No trust funds, no inheritance, just another hopeful face. The office smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, and keyboards clacked in uneven rhythms. I loved it instantly. It felt real in a way my family's boardrooms never had. That was where I met Lena Morales. She was leaning over a copier, muttering under her breath, hair tied back in a messy bun that refused to stay neat. When the machine jammed again, she sighed dramatically. "Of course," she said, "because why would anything work today?" I smiled before I could stop myself. "It can sense fear. Try threatening it." She laughed, an unguarded, surprised sound, and looked at me like I'd just brightened her morning. From that moment on, my days revolved around small things. Shared coffee breaks, whispered jokes during meetings, late nights reconciling numbers while the city lights blinked outside the windows. Lena worked harder than anyone I knew. She arrived early, left late, and still apologized for things that weren't her fault. She talked about her dreams carefully, like fragile glass. "I want to manage my own team someday," she once said, staring at her screen. "But people like me don't usually get that far." "Why not?" I asked. She shrugged. "No connections, no safety net." I didn't tell her I had both. I didn't want her to look at me differently. Mr. Calder noticed me quickly, and not in a good way. He was the kind of boss who believed authority was louder than competence. He criticized publicly, praised selectively, and seemed personally offended by my calm demeanor. "You're too passive," he snapped during a meeting. "If you don't fight for your place, you'll be replaced." I nodded and kept working. What he didn't see was that I didn't know how to fight in offices like this. I had spent my life being protected from consequences, not navigating them. I was learning, slowly, how much effort it took just to survive here. Lena noticed, though. "You don't have to prove anything to him," she told me one night as we packed up. "Some people only feel tall by stepping on others." Her kindness stayed with me longer than any insult ever could. The firing came on a Friday. No warning, no explanation worth remembering. Mr. Calder didn't even stand when he told me. "You're not a good fit," he said flatly. "We're going in a different direction." That was it. I packed my desk in silence. When I lifted my box, I saw Lena standing nearby, her eyes wide with disbelief. "They can't do this," she whispered. "They already did," I replied, trying to smile. She hugged me then, right there in the office, and for a second, the world narrowed to the warmth of her arms and the way my chest ached when she let go. "I'm going to miss you," she said softly. That hurt more than losing the job. That night, the rain soaked through my coat as I walked aimlessly through the city. For the first time, I understood what people meant when they said rejection changed you. I had failed, not as a rich heir, not as a protected name, but as Alex from accounting. And it mattered. By morning, the decision was clear. I bought Calder and Rowe Financial. Quietly, I became a shadow owner, observing, listening, learning. I watched how managers treated employees, how talent was ignored, how Lena was consistently overlooked despite outperforming her peers. Change took time, but it came. Mr. Calder was removed. New leadership took his place. Policies shifted. Promotions were reviewed. Lena was promoted within weeks. When I finally asked her to meet me, it wasn't as an owner. It was as Alex. I told her everything. The money, the lie, the reason. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she took a breath. "I should be angry," she said. "I know," I replied. "I'd understand." "But I'm not," she continued, "because the person I knew, the one who stayed late, who listened, who cared, that was real." She smiled gently. "And I loved that person." The word loved landed softly, perfectly. We didn't rush anything. We built something slow and honest, something money had never taught me how to create. I stepped away from the company entirely. Lena rose on her own merit. We learned each other's fears, flaws, and strengths. For the first time, my life felt earned. I had been born with millions, but it took being fired to find love. And that was worth everything.